Okay, we need to discuss something, and that thing is how we need to apply, how we could apply a pseudoscience into a real science. What I'm talking about is telepathy. Why I'm talking about telepathy? Uh, we, as humanity, we communicate using our vocal cords. However, we don't know if there are other intelligent life forms in the or vast universe, or maybe another realms that don't communicate using mouth. Maybe they are beings that don't have mouth at all. Maybe they feed on cosmic energy like plants or something like that. In case of communicating with them, we either need to use efficient writing systems, or we could develop uh, telepathy. While it may be weird to hear from normal people point of view, but telepathy could be also help us in case of communicating interpersonally. Probably. Not good about interpersonal communication. I'm interested only in intercultural. Uh, but if we talk about telepathy, then we still need to know how everything would be going. We need to know about the language, and then it's another problem which could be easily dealt with. The problem with the most universal language, we some may say it's English, but it's actually not. English is lingua franca, but it's not most universal language. The most universal language is actually something called binary codes. Okay, let's wait it to my computer. Basic. Okay, before it gonna open, we binary codes are codes that use only zeros and ones to describe certain phoneticals, letters, numbers, and so on. The binary code is have this specific that everything can be described, mathematically described as binary using binary code. Uh, there was in one of episodes of Ancient Aliens from History Channel. Actually, I watched it on Focus, but there was a case of a former British soldier who, during his work in military, uh, came upon an UFO which landed in British woods. When he touched it, he suddenly collapsed, and it transferred a binary code message to his directly to his brain. After I think it was 10 or 12 or 20 years. I'm not gonna. I'm not sure. I'm not gonna lie to you because I'm not sure in which episode it was. But after 20 years, he still remained entire. His subconscious mind still remembered this entire code, and he put it. And maybe I would next. I think maybe I should try find it. I rather not gonna find it because it have a lot of. Uh, but okay, sorry if I'm chaotic, but that's just how I am. Okay, next thing is sacred that we gonna need to talk about is sacred geometry. Basically, it's another thing that everything in the world could be described. Okay, waiting. See, let's go waiting for sacred geometry tab gonna be open. We need to talk still about binary codes. Basically, binary codes will describe everything according to phonetics, and we could describe concepts. Also, binary codes can describe conceptual images that don't exist in human reality or minds or the minds of uh, beings that we can came into contact with when exploring space. Maybe let's just say they say theoretically something called intercultural, and we don't know what it is. They theoretically know what it is, but we don't know. We don't. They tried to describe it using their descriptions, but we don't have any concept of it. The same as we made, they may don't have concept of oil, and while and petrol. While we can have tried to describe it, if they don't use it, maybe they use only solar energy to everything. Then we need to know, maybe the planet don't have oil, think how to describe it. And basically, binary code should allow to, by inserting subconscious binary code of a certain parameters of, let's just say, this oil, or this weird thing that I already forgot how I pronounced it. Never mind. We could show it, the our brain and their brain could see the image of this. It's like your subconscious mind, while receiving the binary code, your brain has actually also and so also works on binary codes. So when it get information in binary code, it gets this binary code got translated into useful data that our conscious mind can perceive. Let's check out the sacred geometry. Okay, another thing is sacred geometry, and here we are. Sacred geometry shapes. I think it was best. And let's while waiting, let's go back to binary codes. So entire there's a concept of Akatha Chronicles. Actually, when uh, ancient apostles and saints and sages spoke in something called spoke in languages, so spoke in multiple languages at once. They didn't probably did it just by speaking the one language, they just speaking their home language, but at the same time they used connected to something called Akashic records, uh, Holy Spirit, or okay, however you name it, basically super consciousness, collective super consciousness, like something like that. And the thing is, we the human brain and body uh, produce and receives something called bioelectromagnetic signals, which saturates our cells and radiates into our environment, into our surroundings. Some people call it morphic field. From yeah, while morphic field are another part of pseudoscience. I always tell people that we need to put pseudoscience on equal terms with normal science. We need to check out which from pseudoscience is right, what is wrong. And basically, what I wanted to speak from sacred geometry is something called Merkaba, Metan's cube, and tetrahedron, which are uh, three very important things. Basically, Merkaba, according to spiritual teachings, is a throne of God, but another thing is that our DNA have actually not two strands but 12, and is 12 dimensional, and it can receive and absorb signals from these whole dimensions. We just need to unlock it somehow. Some say from meditation, some say through certain drugs can help. Well, depending, we need to, we should test it, but the shape of actually the shape of this 12-dimensional DNA is tetrahedron. Okay, go back to but let's go back to binary codes before we continue to complete chaos. Uh, okay, binary codes are how this sage saints spoke every language, that everyone they spoke their language, but everyone around them, despite being from different cultures, different countries, let's say from biblical, from New Testament apostles, they spoke Aramaic and Greek, but everyone, Hebrew, Romanian, people who speak Greek, people who are speaking Armenian, people who are speaking Arabic, they understood it clearly and they were hearing their own language. How it's possible? Basically, because despite that fact, they were at the state of superconsciousness. So Christianity call it uh, state of glory of Holy Spirit glory or something like that. I don't remember how it was in English. But basically, what was happening, it's not that they spoke every language, but the intentions, they interfered with their electromagnetic impulses in the brains of their listeners. So putting an universal binary code of the concepts that they taught to people. And when the receivers of this binary codes got them, their subconscious brain translated it to their own language. That's why we need to learn develop both telepathy, both this telepathy, and that's why the telepathy should work on mostly binary codes. It definitely it's the only way it would work. And the reason why we should do it in such a way is because when, let us say, we got into contact with completely different civilization from outer space, from Pegasus constellation, like something like that. While we may have need to very quickly got into friendly relationship with them in matter of, let's just say, we need to present ourselves that we are can communicate with them in matter of, let us say, weeks, or else they gonna blow up our planet. Well, less likely scenario, but still we need to consider something like that. And we don't need their language. Learning the language that we never come upon, that have probably a lot of concepts that we don't have. We need to understand their concepts. It We cannot translate it to directly from normal uh, language in a normal way, like from English to Polish. Beer is piwo, or horse is koń. Then we need to apply something different, and binary codes would allow us, code-based telepathy would allow us to basically speak with them in the way that we received their signals and understand it, and they received our signals and they have understand it because it went in sound and image. It When you speak in telepathy in binary codes, it when your conscious mind translates it, you don't see only hear the words that exist in your language, but your brain also translates it to an image. That's why we need also to further develop as humanity something called synesthesia. So we can see sounds, hear colors, here here smell colors. Actually, like I can pick up smells since I'm very interesting to say that because I can smell things uh, from just an image. If I, it's not like it always works, but I often like look at very realistic images of food, good photos of food and other things. Food that I often never ate, never saw, but still I know how basically it smells because yeah, I have something like that. Uh, going to geometry. Basically, everything could be also described in universe can be described as geometry shapes. Uh, Also, another interesting thing is the tree of life, but it's for another time. So today we're gonna focus on the binary codes. Another thing in binary codes is that our body is made actually from binary codes. Our body is made of proteins, so human body uh, is made of different proteins. These proteins are coded by DNA. The DNA codes are adenosine, tyrosine. Uh, I don't remember this whole DNA codes, but basically our DNA codes are made of. Our body is made basically. Our body is made of proteins. These proteins are coded, made of, coded by DNA codes, and this all proteins and DNA codes are made of atoms. Atoms which are made of quark of subatomic particles, electrons, protons, and neutrons, which are made of quantum particles called quarks, and those quarks are made of something called strings. Uh, Everything is actually made of strings. Let's check out string theory. Not everyone agree with it, but I'm very into a multiverse theory, or rather or the omniverse theory, the string theory. It makes sense. It not doesn't make sense for everyone, but for me, yes. So I'm gonna speak from my point of view. So basically, this what codes and those strings are coded by this binary codes, and interesting that practically every contact with either aliens, some UFO, some extra-dimensional beings from like contacts when spiritualists have contacts with angels or higher dominion beings like some spirits like Aleister Crowley contact with Iowas. Uh, it always come upon certain thing. Uh, it nearly always at some point have binary codes and some geometry symbolism. And fluffing of geometry shapes. From my experience, when I deeply meditated several times once with my friend, I sat meditated at, I focused on going deep inside myself. I don't know how to describe it in Polish, so it's just meditating deep inside ourselves. Actually, I saw a cosmos and stars created something like the tree of life. However, this tree of life here doesn't actually describe what I saw, because what I saw, it wasn't even three-dimensional. It was fourth dimension already. It was like there are actually two trees of life, two basic trees of life from sacred geometry, but all practically every culture have this sacred tree, this tree, the Sephiroth or Tree of Life, uh, which is this also is this tree which is another this second tree from Eden, the Qliphotep, so tree of knowledge. This Qliphotep is often described as the tree from which the in the Bible the Adam and Eve ate fruits and got kicked out from the paradise. Mm, Paradise, like paradise. I think people should start to read Bible and comparing it to Sumerian mythology because it have very similarities. But let's get back to what I was talking. So in Nordic mythology, there's Yggdrasil, the tree, the world tree, Yggdrasil, and when the Celts, the Slavs, the Germans, they all worshipped an old trees. Our human body, our lungs is basically looks like a huge tree. Our arteries, or lymphatics, or cardiovascular, or lymph, and as well as lymphatic system. We these are we have veins same as in case of tree, as well as the planet like a river. And while I was in this uh, deep meditative state, what I saw, it was like this tree of tree of life. So this tree of life and tree of knowledge. So the Sephiroth and Glyph over arranged, fused together, like in some kind of shape that you see at the same time both of them, but they don't are just plainly went like one on another, like, but one was, it was like one was like this, second was like this, and despite that you saw both of them. So this is another thing that is also important. The germ of life, the seed of life, Uh, Basically, everything is based on. Sacred geometry is interesting because it's based practically on two things. First is triangle, and second is a uh, s- square and circle, and also the ratios like a golden ratio. But for now, let's get back to binary codes and of course my great internet. Okay, like said, we as humanity need to progress further. We need to develop this kind of telepathy. But some said could say, what about privacy? What if they started to read minds and so on, so on, so on? Uh, no, telepathy and reading minds is not the same. Of course, you could potentially learn to read the mind, but it's much harder. From now on, but humanity as a whole should develop this ability to communicate telepathically because even in, let us say that we have, let's say humanity finally get united, hooray, everything is okay, let's put huge antennas that uh, amplify can connect our binary codes with satellites and go on, so we can contact telepathically with our friends from another part of globe, not only on the ear to ear side. So we use less plastic and other things to create telephones. Nuclearly, uh, and we came upon, and while exploring space, we came upon the another cosmic civilization that went mad and behaves like nowadays Russia. So, and they we need to ensure our safety. First thing in our safety is how well our intel can be went from one point to another without being deciphered. While they may have technology, let us say they have technology to decipher every radio signals and so on. But if we communicate using our brains, that means our electromagnetic waves works on completely different spectrum. They didn't even consider it as something that they received a message. They wouldn't even get that we communicate. We basically won, and by reading their electromagnetic inferences in their brains, we can assume what they can do, what they're planning. So it have also a military meaning. I hope I don't. bored you, but let's just go through another few things in sacred geometry. Another sacred geometry symbols is swastika. Uh, of course, in Europe, I, not of it's often considered a bad symbol, but we need to remember that until 1940, even in Poland, some of our regiments that fought against Nazi Germany, uh, they use swastika as one of their symbols. So with swastika, we have this, we have so-called kolovrot, we have this type. Practically every culture have this so-called swastika. Even Hebrew culture, have swastika, and it's always uh, a symbol of happiness, uh, well-being. What is swastika and why some are right-sided, some left? It depends basically from there's a theory, very probably, that is very in case at least in case of four armed swastika, it's that it represents how the North Star and I need to remember how it was called. Uh, let's check it out. Yalla yalla. Okay, waiting until it's gonna start working. We gonna basically okay, basically how the constellation of Ursa Minor is viewed from Earth at certain uh, sorry point or time at certain seasons. So in one it's like create something like that. Let us this summer, in winter, in next in autumn it goes like this, next it goes like until it goes like this, and in spring it goes like this. And this is how is swastika. Kolovrot think it has different thing meaning, but it's also directed to directions, and it's basically the rows. I think it's called rows of. Okay, so it's rows of directions. Also, like in this rows of directions where you have north, because Kovrot have it's the here what it was uh, well, right, I lost it. It was somewhere some I oh it was oh here it is. See the cover, it's small. Let's just say this cover symbol, and basically this cover symbol. Okay, it's we have north, we have I hope that my image don't gonna but we have one, two, north, northeast, east, southeast, east, southwest, west, northwest, and it goes on, and it's basically from which point of view you see how the sun went and these broken arms went. I don't know how to describe it in Polish as well as also will describe it as I'm describing it now. I'm not very good in describing things. Uh, Another thing we need to understand that basically every magical symbols also so sigils are based on geometry. Uh, like from Goethean symbolism, it's always something in circle in circle, some geometry meanings in runic alphabet, especially in Nordic runes, in either Futhark, you can from different runes create sigils, basically overlapped runes that create an image. Maybe I'm gonna show you how it works. Mm, I just hope it's gonna be okay. Can minimize photo. Yep, computer is great. I hope it's not gonna be burning, but basically I still remember. Let's use normal paint. I'm not gonna even save this. I mostly use paint 3D, but because of better qualities. But in this case, the normal paint would be also enough. And let's wait until. Okay, so we have lines. I'm gonna do it with thick lines. I hope everyone will see it, but so basically we have this straight line. So we have Later, it's a protective sigil from runic magic from Adventure card. So we have this. Um, I think it was called manas. It's not perfect. It should be equal, but I'm not good at using drawing. I'm next we have this line, which I had a book about Dolphins, but now my friend have it. So when we put it here, okay, so we have manas. Now we put in line here, which created nautis, and we put line here, which created turisas. So we have this symbol is overlapped manas, nautis, and turisas. In old English texts also had this turisas letter. Some read it as a th, some read it as a f. It changed over time, but basically this is how it works. Let us say we make it little bit wider here so you could see it, and okay, you see sigil and the three letters that are made of it. So basically we covered everything for now, and hope to see you later. Thanks for listening to my weird talks about weird things, but that are weird but very important. Okay, and